Okay, welcome my friends to the second episode of Frameworks. And as I said before, Frameworks is a program about teaching frameworks. In the previous episode, I talked about the speaking framework. Now in this episode, I'm going to see how you can identify the speaking framework when you're looking at a course book. Now someone might ask, and what is the benefit of this? Well, the benefit of this is because we learn frameworks so that we can take this into the classroom. We want to apply what we learn. Now we talked about 5 stages. How can you see these 5 stages in a course book? And here I've got a wonderful lesson from Design for the Intermediate Students. And actually, in this book, we're going to focus on a speaking lesson, see how the speaking lesson is designed, look also at the speaking framework integrated in that lesson. Okay, right, so let's start. And we said last time that the first stage in a speaking lesson is leading, which means that when you look at this speaking lesson, you need to find the leading first. But again, here you are, look at this. As we see on the course book page, it is entitled Task Designer Tour, and then we have preparation, listening. But let's read question number 1 carefully. What does it say? What do you know about Australia? Think about the capital and main cities, the climate. So this for me looks like a leading. So you start by generating your students' interest in Australia first and its cities and information about the country, which goes side by side with what we spoke about last time. Start with a leading. So here the course book gives you a ready-made leading. And if you're not happy with that leading and you want to come up with your own leading, then fine. And we gave you many examples in the previous episode. As I said before, you can start with a short video, and here in this scenario, your short video has to be in harmony with the topic, and the topic here is about Australia and designing a tour in Australia. Then you can go actually to YouTube, for example, and find a short video about Australia. Take 1 minute of that video and then display that to your students to start a discussion, and that can be a replacement for activity 1 here, or you can run the wonderful activity given to you by the coursebook designers. Then we said before in the previous episode that after leading we need to give students information, and the reason why we said that is because, as we said last time, you cannot speak about something you have no idea about. And that's why we need to give our students an idea about Australia. But how did the coursebook designers do this here? Look at this. If you look at activity number 2, it reads as follows. Marco is going to Australia for 2 weeks on holiday. He's asking his Australian friend Elaine to recommend places to visit. Listen and number the 4 places on the map that Elaine suggests. How long do they decide he should spend in each place? Again, it says listen and number the 4 places. So this is a listening activity. Some people who don't have good experience in English language teaching, or I wouldn't say good experience, I would say even initial training in English language teaching, when they look at this activity and see that it is a listening activity, they think that this is a listening lesson. But we say, no, this is not a listening lesson, it's a speaking lesson. Listening here is just a sub-aim that would help us achieve our main aim, which is speaking. So listening here is for only one purpose, giving students more information about the topic. So when we come to the speaking task, they become able to do it. So let's continue. And let's move to activity 3. It says, work in pairs. In which places does Elaine mention the following. So this is a continuation of the previous listening activity. Again, that goes under the preparation stage, as we said. And also it gives the students more information on the topic before I ask them to speak about it. Now let's go to activity number 4. And in activity number 4, it says, listen and complete the phrases Elaine uses. This is wonderful, because now we are taken from the preparation stage to the useful language stage. And look at how the question is phrased. Listen and complete the phrases Elaine uses, because these phrases are important, and because these phrases will be later used by my students in the speaking task. Now, after activity 4, if we move to the following page, which is related to the same task, we see that the course book designer put the useful language in a wonderful box. And inside that box, he put in there some types of phrases, A, B, C. So A, recommending places, food, recommending not to do things, and B, describing places, and C, responding. So useful language. Now, it is very important that you make sure that you cover this for your students before they move to the speaking task. Well, one way of doing this is actually to design a chart where you have 3 columns, and in one column you write recommending places, food, blah blah blah. In another column, recommending not to do things. In a third column, describing places. In a fourth column, responding. And then you can take those phrases and shuffle them and ask your students to take the phrases back and put them under the right column. So this is a kind of an indirect way of teaching your students this useful language before you come to the speaking task. Okay, interesting now. Right, then let's have a look at the speaking task and how it is presented here in this lesson. So 5, it says, question 5, would you like to visit Australia? Which of the places described would you most like to see and why? So this is a speaking task students can do together or in groups. And then we come to the main speaking task here. And it is entitled, as you see in the course book, under task speaking. And it is divided into like parts, like 1, 2, 3. So in 1, it is said, either in pairs or individually, you're going to design a tour similar to Elaine's. Choose one of the options below, and a lot of options are given. Then when the students work together designing this tour, they will be speaking. They will agree and disagree. They will also recommend things. They will describe things. They will respond to others. Okay, using the useful language. Now in part 2 in a speaking task, what we see here, it says, spend 10 to 15 minutes planning how to describe your tour. Again, this is something that you can do with your partner, and again, more and more speaking. Then we come to number 3, which is the third part of the task. Work in pairs with a student who has planned a different tour, explain your tours. Again, so you leave your partner now and you go to someone else describing your tour, and of course you wait for responses from that person. Now, as you see, in this wonderfully designed lesson, we can see the first 4 stages very clear. The leading is there, the preparation is there, the useful language is there, and the speaking task is there. But we don't see feedback, which is normal because feedback is your job. And as I said in the previous episode, 2 kinds of feedback, content feedback and language feedback. And of course, in a lesson like this, content feedback would be commenting on the tours designed by your students. Like you would ask one student and say, oh, tell me about your friend's tour. Did you like it? Why? Why not? And this is how it will go. So in this episode, my friends, we talked about how to identify the speaking framework in course books, how these stages are represented, and we gave a good example from a wonderful course book. In the coming episode, we're going to talk about how to use the framework in designing your own lessons from authentic material. Thank you very much. Bye bye for now.